Hello! In today's video, we're going to be making this cute little dragonfly in honor of Pride Month. The dragonfly measures about 6 inches in length from antenna down and 6 inches from the tip of the wing to the tip of the wing on the opposite side. Although this isn't a very big project, it would make a nice backpack charm. It wouldn't take much to put a little keychain hook up on here and then just have it hanging from a backpack or a purse. And I think it's a really good size to give for a simple little gift. And let's take a look now at the materials we're going to need to make this little guy. I'm using 7 colors from Red Heart Super Saver, so just some inexpensive acrylic yarn. And I have red, yellow, orange, green, blue, purple, and lastly black for the antenna and legs. For the tools I'm using 2 different size crochet hooks. A 3.25 millimeter crochet hook, and that's for the body and wings, and then also a 2.25 millimeter crochet hook, and that's for the antenna and legs. I have some large safety eyes, stitch marker, yarn needle, a pair of scissors, and lastly some polyfill. To start off making the head / body, because it's all one continuous piece, we're going to start off with red and then just work continuously down through the orange and yellow. So let's start off with our red and our 3.25 millimeter hook, and let's make a magic ring. I'll walk you through the steps on how I make a magic ring. There's quite a few good tutorials online, but this is just one way that I go ahead and make mine. So I lay the yarn over my index and middle finger. I bring the yarn around and cross it over and then bring it again. So I have 2 parallel lines across the top of my fingers. I bring my hook, place it under the first line, bring it around. I bring the hook under both yarn where it crosses, so it brings a single loop over the crochet hook, and then I turn my hand and I grab up the back yarn and just pull it through. And that's how I get my magic ring. Like I said, there is quite a few really good tutorials, but that's just another option. Now what we're going to do is we're going to crochet 6 single crochet into this magic ring. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then we'll just give the tail a little pull to close that up. We don't want to close it really tight just yet because it makes it hard to get into that first loop, but we'll give it a tighter pull after round 2. So we're done with round 1, and we have 6 single crochet into our magic ring, and then in round 2 we'll increase to 12. Round 2 we're increasing from 6 single crochet to 12, and the way we're going to do that is we're just going to increase in each of the 6 stitches. So we'll go into our first stitch and place 2 single crochet, and the same for the remaining 5, just 2 single crochet in each stitch. So there's 6, 8, we've got 10, and lastly 12. And now we can give this a little bit better of a pull to really close up that center gap. And that's the end of round 2, and in round 3 we'll be increasing to 18 stitches. Round 3 is an increase round to 18 stitches, and we'll do that by crocheting 2 into our first stitch and 1 into the second. So our pattern all the way around will be to increase and then single crochet. increase, and then a single crochet in the next stitch. And I think what I'm going to do is grab up my tail and just crochet over that. So we've got our increase, single crochet, increase, single crochet, our final increase, and pop out our stitch marker, and a single crochet. So we are up to 18 stitches, and we're going to increase again in round 4 up to 24 stitches. Now that we're on round 4, we'll increase to 24 stitches, and our pattern will be to increase in our first stitch, and then follow that by one single crochet, and then another single crochet. So we've got an increase, then a single crochet, and another single crochet. And we'll just follow that pattern all the way around. So increase, 1, 2, increase, 1 and 2, and let's see, we've got second to the last increase, so we've got our increase, single crochet, and finally our final increase for round 4, single crochet, and single crochet. Okay, so we've got 24 stitches. We're going to go on to round 5 where we're going to increase to 30 stitches. So let's start on round 5 where we're going to increase to 30 stitches, and our pattern will be to increase in our first stitch, single crochet in the second stitch, single crochet in the third, and then single crochet in the fourth. And so again, we're going to do an increase followed by 3 single crochets. So there's 1, 2, 3, increase, 1, 2, 3, we're about halfway around, do our 4th increase, 1, 2, 3, increase, we've got 1, 2, and 3, and then we have our final increase with 1, 2, and 3. So we are up to 30 single crochet all the way around, and we've completed round 5. We're now going to be working rounds 6 through 10, where we're just going to single crochet 1 in each of the stitches. So let's get started on rounds 6 through 10, and it's just simply single crocheting 1 in each stitch around, keeping that 30 single crochet stitch count. And so what I'll do is I will have you work through rounds 6 through 10 on your own, and then once you've finished round 10, we'll go ahead and meet back up and start working through round 11 together. So just keep going, rounds 6 through 10, just 1 single crochet in each stitch. We are on round 11. We've got our rows 6 through 10 completed, and now we're going to start a decrease round. And what we're going to do is we're going to decrease which I do by doing an invisible decrease, and I do that by placing my hook in the first stitch, the front loop only, the second stitch, the front loop only, pulling through those 2 loops, and then pulling through the remaining 2 loops. And then I will single crochet 1 in each of the next 3 stitches. So let me show that invisible decrease again. So we'll go under the front loop of the first stitch, the front loop of the second stitch, pull through those 2 loops, and then pull through the remaining 2 loops, and then just follow that by 3 single crochet. Oops, lost my, see if I can grab that up again. Okay, so we've got that, and then front loop, pull through again, and then 1, 2, and 3. And that's our pattern all the way around. Decrease. And if you have a better way of doing a decrease, definitely go with whatever way works best for you. I just want to give you an idea of how I do my invisible decrease. So we'll decrease, and then 1, 2, 3, grab some more yarn, final decrease, and then, whoops, 1, come on, last couple stitches, I can get through this, 2, come on, I'm all tangled up here, and 3. So we are almost, I can't go through one video without a little bit of struggling. So we've got our decrease round, which is round 11, and we are down to 24 stitches. In round 12, we're going to decrease again, and we're going to decrease down to 18 stitches. We're on round 12, and we're going to decrease from 24 stitches down to 18, and our pattern will be to decrease, followed by 2 single crochet. We've got our decrease, 1 and 2, decrease, single crochet, single crochet, decrease. And then after this round, we'll go ahead and place our safety eyes. And so let's just finish up. Decrease, 1, 2, there we go, decrease, 1 and 2. So we are down to 18 stitches, and next we're just going to get our safety eyes placed. For my safety eyes, I placed them between rows 8 and 9 with a total of 6 stitches in between. So I'll put my first safety eye in, and that's in stitch 1, followed by 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So the 6th spot will be where I will place my second safety eye. And you may want to place yours higher, lower, further apart, but this is kind of where I found that I like it. So we've got 6 stitches from where each safety eye goes in. Just pop on our backs, and other backing. And I clicked them twice to get these on, and that seemed to work pretty well for the original one I made. So we are now ready to start round 13, and we're going to do not only a decrease, but we're also going to do a color change. We are on round 13, and we're going to decrease from 18 stitches down to 12 and color change from red to orange. So I'm going to do decreases until about 4 stitches from my stitch marker and then get ready for my color change. So our pattern will be to decrease followed by a single crochet. Again, that's a decrease followed by a single crochet, and then we've got our decrease, single crochet, decrease, single crochet, decrease, and we are about 4 stitches from the end. And the way I do my color change, and again, go ahead and do this any way that works best for you, is I lay my new color just kind of over the working yarn, and then I'm going to single crochet over it, and then my decrease will be over it as well. Now in my final single crochet, I'll start to single crochet over it, but instead of pulling through with my red yarn to finish the stitch, I'll grab my orange and I'll just pull that through. So it'll be ready to start with orange in my next stitch starting in round 14. So we are all set. We've got our decreases down to 12, our yarn changed over to orange, and then what we're going to do in round 14 is we're going to increase to 24 stitches. We're on round 14 and we're going to increase to 24 stitches, and we're going to do that in the front loops only. But I'm first going to cut off a little bit of where there's a little bit of a tail left in my red, and I'm going to when I do my single crochets and increases, I'm going to go over the tail just to keep everything kind of locked into place from when we did the color change. But let's go ahead and get started with our increase. So in our front loop only, we're going to do 2 single crochet all the way around. And again, I'm just going to work over that tail of my red yarn just to kind of keep that locked in place. And again, we're just going to put 2 single crochet in the front loop all the way around row 14. There we go. Should be all set with my tail. I'm just going to kind of push those little tails in to get them out of the way. And then just continue to increase in all 12 stitches to bring us up to 24. Okay. And then after we get our increase round done, we'll start adding some stuffing. And that'll make this a little bit easier to hold on to while we're working. And we're just about to the end. So just a couple more increases. And there we go. So we are up to 24 stitches on round 14. And let's go ahead and just kind of pull our yarn out a little bit and get ready to place some stuffing into the head. And that way we'll have a little something more to hold on to as we're going. So I'm getting the head stuffed. Now it doesn't have to be absolutely perfect at this point because we'll be able to stuff as we go, but this will at least get us a good start and get that stuffing right around those safety eyes to make sure they're nice and smooth across the head. But this will get us a good start, and we don't want to get it too much towards the top because sometimes all that polyfill will get caught up in your stitches. But this is giving us something to start with, and then in our next rounds, which will be 15 through 18, we're just going to single crochet 1 in each stitch. So let's get started with the next 4 rounds, rounds 15 through 18, where all we're going to do is single crochet 1 in each of the 24 stitches. Now this round can be a little trickier because they're so packed in here tight. But with the orange being a lighter color yarn, it should be easy to see each individual stitch. And then we're going to, once we get past this little bit trickier row, it just gets right back to normal where it's much easier to single crochet in each one. So what I'm going to have you do is work on rows 15 through 18, and then once you're done with round 18, we'll go ahead and meet back up and we'll start working round 19 together. We are back after completing rounds 15 through 18, and we're ready to start round 19, which is a decrease round. And we're going to decrease from 18 stitches down to 12. And that pattern is where we will decrease and follow that by 2 single crochets. And again, we will decrease. We've got 1 and 2, decrease, 1 and 2. Let's just keep going. We've got our decrease, okay, let's try that one more time. Got our decrease, 1, 2, all right, this is struggling today. Decrease, 1, 2, and we've got our final decrease for round 19. Here's 1 and 2. So we are now down to 18 stitches, and in round 20 we're going to decrease down to 12. This is another good spot to add some more stuffing, and then once you get a little more stuffing, definitely not all the way up to the very top, but you know, a little something more to add into our little dragonfly. We'll get started on round 20 and we'll decrease down to 12 stitches. So I added some more stuffing into mine and it's starting to kind of puff back up, so let me push some of that back down. But we're going to do another decrease round from 18 stitches down to 12, and our pattern will be to decrease followed by a single crochet. And again, that's a decrease followed by a single crochet. And then this will get us down to 12 stitches. So our single crochet. All right. Decrease, single crochet, decrease and single crochet, and final decrease, and then final single crochet for round 20. Now we are going to be doing another decrease round where we're going to go from 12 stitches down to 6 and also color change to yellow. Okay, let's start on round 21 where we're going to decrease down to 6 stitches, and at the end we're going to color change to yellow. So I'm going to decrease 3 times in a row and then get ready to do my, or get everything prepped for my color change. So what we'll do is we'll do our first decrease. Got our second decrease. And third. And I think I'm just going to pop the stitch marker out just because I'm working in a pretty small area. Okay, so what I'll do is, again, I'm just going to lay this working yarn, or I'm going to lay the new color, yellow, over my working yarn, and then I am going to decrease for my 4th, there's my 5th, and this will be my final decrease. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start the decrease, and then instead of pulling orange through that very last part of my decrease, I'm just going to bring yellow. And that way it is ready to start rounds 22 through 29. And what I'll do is I will just cut off the orange here and leave a tail that I can crochet over while we're working through rounds 22 through 29, just to hold everything nice and in place. I've tucked my yellow tail down into the body, and I'm leaving the tail for the orange yarn to crochet over. And what we're going to do in yellow is we're going to crochet in 1 in each of the 6 stitches. So there's 1, 2, and just trying to work over that tail, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So there's 6. I'm going to pull out my yarn, and first I'm going to take the orange and just kind of tuck that down in there to get that out of the way. And what I want to do now is just add a little more stuffing to start filling up the body. So we'll get that stuffed right up to where the color change is, and then we'll continue working on the little tail part. We're now ready to start our final rows where we're just going to single crochet 1 in each of the 6 stitches. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So I'll have you complete rounds 23 through 29 on your own, and when you get to your last stitch, just stop there and we'll work on adding a little more stuffing into the tail and closing off the end of the tail. Now that you've got rows 22 through 29 completed, we're just going to take and slip stitch into the next stitch, cut off not too long of a tail for sewing, and we can pull our yarn out. Now it's up to you if you want to add any stuffing into the tail. It doesn't necessarily need it, but if you want to, you can just take your scissors and just put some, like even just some extra yellow yarn in there, or just a little bit of polyfill, and fill that area up. And then what we're going to do next is just sew this closed. I have my yarn onto my yarn needle, and what I'm going to do to close this is I'm just going to come from the middle out and go through that front loop only. And I'm just going to go through all 6, just coming from the middle of the tail, coming out, front loop only. And we'll do that through all 6, and I hope that made sense. And then once we get through all 6, which I think we have, we'll just go ahead and just give it a really firm pull. And then we can take our yarn needle and just go in to the tail and just kind of pull it. So it just kind of ends up closing it off, kind of rounding it off, and just kind of pull your yarn through the body just to make sure everything's in nice and tight and won't come undone. And then we can just clip off that last yellow yarn, just give this a little squeeze, and there we go. We have the body of our dragonfly. And the next thing we're going to be working on are the wings. So here's what one of the wings look like, and we're going to be making a total of 4 of these. Now there's 13 rounds in the wing, so the color changes come pretty quickly, but we'll go through it together and make it as easy as possible. So we've got our green yarn, and we're going to go ahead and make a magic ring. So we've got our magic ring, and what we're going to do is single crochet 4 stitches into our magic ring. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we'll give that a little tug to kind of pull it a little tighter. And now that we've got our 4 single crochet, in round 2 we're going to increase to 6. For round 2, to increase to 6 stitches, we're going to increase in our first stitch, single crochet in the second, increase in the third, and single crochet in the last, the 4th stitch. And so that'll give us our 6 single crochet for round 2. And then what we're going to do in round 3 is increase to 8 stitches. Round 3, we're going to increase to 8 stitches by increasing in our first stitch, single crocheting in the next, and then single crocheting in the next. Then we'll go ahead and increase, and we'll do a single crochet in the next stitch and a single crochet in the last. So now we're up to 8 stitches, and in round 4 we're just going to single crochet 1 in each stitch. Round 4 we're just going to single crochet 1 in each stitch. So there's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And then when we go on to round 5, we're going to increase to 12 stitches and do our first color change. We are on to round 5, and we're going to increase from 8 stitches to 12. And then we're also going to do a color change, so I'm going to stop about 3 or 4 stitches from the end just to get everything ready for the color change. So our pattern will be to increase in the first stitch and single crochet in the next. So again, we're just going to increase and single crochet. And that's going to actually stop me about 4 stitches from the end. So I think what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and lay my blue yarn over, and then I'll do an increase, single crochet, increase, oops, lost my yarn again. Okay, here's my increase, and then in my last stitch I'll start off with green, and then I'll pull through the last part with blue. And there we go. We are now up to 12 stitches, and we're ready to start working. Let's see, it'll be rounds 6 through 8 in blue. I'm ready to start rounds 6 through 8, and I cut off the green yarn but left a little tail to crochet over. And then what I'm going to do is just crochet 1 in each of the 12 stitches. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. And I'll have you go through rounds 7 and 8, single crocheting 1 in each stitch for those 2 rounds as well. So we'll meet back up after you're done with round 8, which is just single crocheting 1 in each stitch. We've completed rounds 6 through 8, and we're ready to start on round 9, which is going to be a decrease round from 12 stitches to 8, and it's also going to be our final color change for the wings, so we'll be switching to purple. So let's go ahead and get started with decreasing, and I'm going to stop about 4 stitches from the end. And let's see, we're going to decrease in our first stitch, followed by a single crochet, decrease, single crochet, we've got our decrease, and that puts us about 4 stitches from the end. So I'll go ahead and get my new color ready, and then I will single crochet, decrease, and then change out my color. So then start off working with the blue, and then pull the purple through. And then I'll cut off a length of the blue so I can crochet over that when we go ahead and start rounds 10 and 11. We're on rounds 10 and 11, and those are just single crochets in each stitch for all 8 stitches. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And I'm just gonna push this little bit of blue down out of the way. And let's go ahead and we'll do around 11 too. Just get that done. And that's just single crocheting in each stitch. So there's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and come on, there we go, 8. And I'll just pat my stitch marker back in, and then we will be ready for round 12, which is a decrease round from 8 stitches down to 6, and then round 13 is just going to be single crocheting 1 in each of those 6 stitches. So let's go ahead and just get rounds 12 and 13 taken care of. In round 12 we'll be decreasing from 8 stitches down to 6, and so what we'll do is we'll decrease followed by 2 single crochet, 1 and 2, decrease followed by 2 single crochet, 1 and 2, and then we'll just single crochet 1 in each stitch. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And now what we'll do is we will just slip stitch in the next stitch. We'll leave a length of tail for sewing onto the body, and hopefully those color changes weren't too frustrating with how fast they came. But there we go, we have one of our wings done. What I'll have you do is go back and complete 3 more wings for a total of 4, and that way we'll have all of them set for our little dragonfly. And then what we'll do once those wings are all complete, we'll go ahead and start working on the legs and the antenna. What we're going to first start with are making the legs, which we're going to make a total of 6 of. Because black is so hard to see when you're working on the stitches, I'm going to go ahead and make a leg in a brighter color, which I'll probably just do yellow, and that way you'll be able to see all of the steps I'm doing easier. So I've got my yellow yarn in order to make the stitches easier to see, but you go ahead and grab whichever color you're going to use for your legs. I have my 2.25 millimeter crochet hook, and let's start off with making a slip knot. Okay, once we have our slip knot, we're going to chain 6, but we don't want to chain really tight. We just want to make just nice, easy chains because we're going to be working in the back side of the chains. There's 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So we've got our 6 chains, and if you look on the back side of your chain, you're going to see these little bumps going along the back, and they're kind of like the spine of the chain. So you can kind of see them, and if I insert my yarn needle, you can kind of see where it goes right inside, and that's where we're going to be working. And we're going to be slip stitching into those. So starting from the second chain from your hook, insert your hook into that first back bump, and then just slip stitch. And you're going to work down the next 4 as well. And so sometimes they can be a little feisty to get into, and the tighter you chain, the harder it can be to get into them. But if they are giving you some issues, you can take your yarn needle and just kind of insert it and then just kind of lift up, and that should make it easier to slide your hook through. So there's 3, 4, and 5. And then we're just going to cut off a length of tail for sewing, and that is our leg. We just need to make 5 more of these, and then we'll have all our legs for the little body of the dragonfly. We're ready to make our antenna, and our antenna will just kind of work pretty much the same as our legs. It's just a little bit longer and just a little bit more detail up around the top to kind of give it that little ball look. So what we're going to do is take whichever color you're using for your antenna, and we're going to go ahead and make our slip knot. And again, we're going to be working in those back bumps, so we don't want to chain too tightly, but we're going to go ahead and chain 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Once we have our 9 chains, we'll go ahead and start with the second chain from the hook, and working into that first back bump, we're going to single crochet 3 times into that same back bump. So there's 1, 2, and 3. And that's going to give that little rounded ball part. Now down the rest of the back of the chain, we're just going to slip stitch the same as we did for the legs. And again, you can always use your yarn needle if you find that they're a little hard to get into. And so there'll be 7 of the back bumps to go down. So there's 2, 3, 4, 5, we've got 6, and last one. Let's see if I can get in there. That one's gonna fight me. And 7. So there we go. We've got our antenna. Now we just need to make 1 more, and once we have that last antenna, we'll be able to start putting everything together. I have my yarn needle threaded with the tail for the wing, and how I'm going to sew on the first wing is I'm going to take the body and lay it so it's turned on its side, and then kind of come halfway down and then like a stitch or 2 back. I'll just bring my yarn needle through about 2 stitches down. I'll come to the opposite end of my wing and then just come out that side, and it'll just kind of hold everything in place. And then what I'll do is I'll just sew around. So I'll just kind of come up through the body. Whoops, that didn't work out well. Okay, come on. So I'll come up through the body, and I'll come up the front loop on the wing and down the next front loop. And then I'll just sew into the body, and then I'll just go all the way around doing that, and that's how I'll get my wing in place. Now for the second wing, what I'll do is where this one ends, see if I can kind of show it clear. So where this one's going to end, I'm going to take the next wing and start just a little bit behind it, and start that one where one stops, the next will start, but just a little bit further back on the body. And that's how I place my wings. See if I can show you a little bit better with the one I've already completed. And I'm going to do the same sewing technique all the way around. So once you get all your wings centered where you want them and sewn on, then we'll come back and we'll get the legs put on. For sewing on the legs, I did the first 3 on one side, and then I'm going to show you how easy it is to sew these 3 on the other side. Now I did this a little bit different than I did with my original, and what I did with my original is I started with sewing one pretty much directly under the eye and then moving each one back a stitch. But in this one, I went ahead and I just sewed them one right after, straight down in a line. And I'll show you how I went about doing that. So these are really easy to sew on. What I did was I just took both tails and I threaded them through my yarn needle. And then what I'm going to do is not right up against the neck, but down one stitch. I'm going to come down directly from the eye, and I'm going to place my yarn needle in, and then with the 2 tails through, I'm just going to pull it through, so it'll just bring the little leg right on. And then I'll just take the yarn and I'll just go through the body a couple times just to really secure everything in place. And it may take a little more tugging to get both tails through at once, but it's that simple as far as going ahead and just sewing on your little legs. And then I'll just do the same, one stitch down from the first one. We're on our last little part, and it'll be the antenna, and I'm going to do the same thing to sew on the antenna as I did the legs. So I just threaded both tails through my yarn needle, and then I'm just going to take the little ball part and have it point out, and I'll just kind of center it right in the middle, and then I'll just go in, bring the needle through, pull it tight, and should be able to sit up pretty well all on its own. With the way we slip stitch down the back bumps, it gives it a more stronger way of standing, so it doesn't droop quite as much. So this should stand up pretty good. And then I'll just take that yarn and I'm just going to pull it through the head a few times. That way I'm just securing everything in place. And then once that one's done, I'll just get the other one put on. And that should wrap up everything we need for the little antennas and all the body parts. Here are my 2 completed dragonflies. For Pride Month, I wanted to go with the rainbow colors, but the possibilities are endless with what you could come up with any other color combinations. So this is what these 2 look like, and this is using Red Heart Super Saver yarn. But I did make a practice one when I was making my pattern. And I made this little guy, and he was my test one, and I made this with Dollar Tree yarn. He came out a little bit smaller, but I thought he came out pretty cute. So if you ever are in Dollar Tree and just wondering, how well the yarn works, I've had really good luck with it, and I think the colors are really pretty. So that's everything to make this little dragonfly, and I would love to see what you make. I'll post my Instagram information, and if you make anything, I'd love to see it. But otherwise, I hope you enjoyed the tutorial and have a great day.